Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strong Start Sundays. My name is Dr. Rachel Edoho-Eket, and I am so excited to see you tonight. Please drop in the comments your name. Let us know what your position is and where you are tuning in from. Good evening, Constance. It's so good to see you tuning in from Mississippi. Thank you so much for watching tonight and for tuning in every single week. We really appreciate you. I am so excited to welcome one of my great friends from the NAESP, NASSP world. She is Jana Clark. She is the 2024 NASSP Texas Assistant Principal of the Year, and she currently serves as principal of Boyd Elementary School in Texas. Welcome, Jana.
Hey, good evening. Thanks so much for having me.
I am so excited, Jenny, because this is kind of a full circle moment for both of us. We met on a podcast with Josh Tovar at least 2.5, 3 years ago, and we just connected instantly that night and exchanged numbers. We've been in contact ever since, and I just love watching your journey as you transition from an amazing assistant principal into an amazing principal at your wonderful school. And I just love watching you on social media and seeing all the amazing things that are happening in your school.
Thank you so much. We're having a blast.
Yes, it is lots of fun. So I also want to let the audience know to remind you that we have this amazing book out. Dr. Johnson and I wrote Relational Intelligence, the Key Factor to Exceptional School Leadership. This is a book that is a great read over winter break. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today is how we can relax and recharge over that time. So if you have not picked up your copy of Relational Intelligence, I encourage you to go to Amazon right now and pick it up. It's a great resource for school leaders and leaders in general, just to figure out how we can have better relationships, how we can connect better with everyone that we're serving, how we can communicate in a way that lets people know that we value them, that we see them, and it helps us to keep our amazing teachers and staff inside of our buildings. So thank you again for all of your support and for picking up a copy of Relational Intelligence. Now, Jana, I did ask you, and I would love to know, are you all on winter break right now?
We are. We had a short day on last Thursday, and we started with our full winter break start last Friday. So I'm in it. I am in winter break mode.
Okay, I love that for you. I am only slightly jealous because we still have Monday and Tuesday to go until we have the official start of our winter break. So I'm very happy that people are on winter break. I know people are watching from all over the country and the world. And so if you are on your winter break, that is absolutely amazing. If you are holding on like we are, keep going. We can do this. We have about 1 or 2 more days left. We're going to keep everybody healthy and happy those next 2 days. And then we're going to be starting our break shortly after that. So I would love to get this conversation started tonight because tonight's conversation is all about how we can stay rested over the break. In fact, our title tonight is to unplug to recharge. And we know how much technology is a very big part of our lives. I know my phone is constantly in my hand, and Jenna, I can make an assumption you are also plugged in, but the winter time and definitely winter break is a time when leaders and educators need to slow down. It's not even an option. It is something that we need to do for our personal and mental health, our well-being. We are constantly on the go all the time. And so when we have these breaks within our schedule, it's really important that we take advantage of those. So I'm going to start with Jenna and ask you, Jenna, what are some of the plans that you have over your winter break time? What are you going to be doing?
I have 2 littles, so 4 and 6, and we just plan to soak up every minute. Today we were at the skateboard park. This is a new adventure for us. They're really into bikes and really anything athletic. And so they took their bikes to the skateboard park, and we're just really going to lean into those things. I've communicated with families for, at the school as well as teachers, we really are going to unplug. I'm not going to be checking emails. I encourage the teachers not to check emails as well. We use Parent Square as our large form of communication. And one thing that is really cool, I love about Parent Square, is they are actually going to shut off the app for several weeks. And so what a great time to truly unplug. Everything is telling us to unplug. I don't have email on my phone. I'm going to keep my laptop zipped away. I may even put it like in a closet after tonight. I'm going to put it away. So we're just going to lean into fun family activities.
Yeah, I love that. That's so important. And I remember that age when my twins were that age. And at any age, certainly family time with your kids and your spouse is so very important. So I love that you're being intentional about that time. My family and I are going to be traveling down south. So we're really excited to see our extended family members. That's also a time for the kids to see grandma and aunts and uncles and cousins. And so it's always an amazing time spent together. And it's easy for that technology to kind of creep in. But I agree with you. I'm glad that you're setting some of those boundaries that I heard you talk about. We're going to get into those a little bit more. But that time is sacred with our families. And I know in the past I have battled with feeling guilty when I am taking time away from work to really relish and enjoy. But as I've matured as a leader, I've come to understand that nothing is more important than our families. Nothing is more important than taking care of our loved ones and being present with them. And that's not to say that we're perfect in that area, but it is an awareness that says, hey, I'm on my phone a little bit too much. Let me put it away. Or like you said, zipping that laptop away and actually physically moving it out of your space, out of your room. That is a great way for us to stay tuned in and clocked in with our families and with our close friends. So I really appreciate you lifting up those boundaries, because tonight we're going to be sharing a couple of strategies that will help us all, let go of that guilt and help us say our priority is rest. And one of the things that I've been reading and seeing online a lot is that rest is not a reward. Rest is not a reward for all the work we're doing. Rest is something that is actually necessary. And I think about this when I think about athletes, because I was a former athlete, and I know, Jenna, you probably were an athlete too. You really have to rest and recover. Athletes don't play all year round because our bodies actually need that time. And I know as leaders, we're not necessarily running marathons all the time, though some of us may be. But it's similar in terms of that mental load, that kind of emotional load, even the physical load of being a school leader or a teacher or a support staff person. We need rest. Rest is not optional. And I know I've talked about this a lot. If we do not rest, our bodies will take a rest for us. And we don't want to get to that point. We really don't. We have to be proactive about taking care of ourselves. Jenna, what are your thoughts on that?
I love that we use the word rest, and it's the mental and the physical rest. And I love that you use that athlete lingo, because it's exactly right. For me, this break, I think I'm going to shift it a little bit to not only the mental side, but the physical side. I want to start some habits over this break that I can carry into the new year, and stuff that I can do even while the busy hustle and bustle of a school leadership role. And so those are some of the things that I'm going to focus on. So yes, I want to get the rest. I prioritize sleep. Sleep is very important in our household. And so we turn off all alarms during the break. We're really going to focus on getting that, hopefully 8 hours. We'll see how, you remember that stage with kids, who really knows, but
yeah, close,
right? And so we're going to lean into that, but also, and I know that we're going to talk about this a little bit more, kind of some guilty pleasures of the break. I'm going to read. I'm going to listen to some audiobooks. I'm going to listen to some podcasts that have nothing to do with school leadership. That's something that I wrote down. I was intentional about this break. I've kind of been compiling a little list. But it's that mental rest that we need from that leadership role, even in the classroom. Those teachers, they need a break from that as well. And I loved how someone wrote in the comments, being intentional. And that's what it's about. And I know that we're going to get into that a little bit more as well, is you have to be intentional. You have to plan it out.
Yes, definitely. I know Constance is saying that she's learning to be more intentional. And that's really the word that we're focusing on tonight, is intentionality. we just cannot let things happen by happenstance. You can't just say, I hope to get rest. I hope that I get to stay in bed a little bit. We actually have to make some choices to do that. We have someone joining us tonight from Turkey. Welcome and good evening or good morning. I don't know what the time zone is there, but thank you so much for joining us tonight. So we want to start with our first strategy. And our first strategy is something that Jenna already mentioned, but rule number one for me, and I already have mine set up, is putting up that out of office message and letting the community know that we are on a winter break. We hope you have a wonderful time. Letting our staff know I will not be checking emails over the break, but certainly when we return, I will be responding kind of in that order that we receive them, and that it's okay to set up that barrier for our staff and encouraging them to do the same. So what I like to do is I would send out a little blurb to my staff and say, if you want to use your out of office message, just copy and paste this into there and do it today. That way there's no guilt around you have it or you don't, but it's kind of the leader setting the tone to say, it's our expectation that you are enjoying your time away from work. It's our expectation that you're with your family, with your friends, that you are not checking emails. You have my word, I definitely will not be sending any emails over the break. I think a couple of years ago, I had to send maybe 1 or 2 emails when it was an emergency situation, but otherwise, the staff knows that I'm unplugged during that time. And I already have my out of message set up. And I know, Jenna, you mentioned the app that you have, you're able to turn that off, which is absolutely amazing.
Yes. And something I did different this year when we got out, we had a half day. And so last year I really struggled. And I think you and I talked a little bit about this, is setting that boundary, the guilt that we talk about, right? I have so much to do. And I like to finish it all before I walk out the door, take my badge off, I put it up in the backpack, and then I put everything away. So this year I was very intentional about that. I'm going to carve out an hour to 2 hours, depending on how long it takes. And I'm going to clean out my inbox. I'm going to get my office ready to walk back into in January. Whenever I walk in, I want it to be clean. I don't want to be laying here on Monday thinking, I really need to run to the office and just tidy up, just pick up just a little or do those last few sticky notes. And so for me, that was an expectation that I set for myself. I want you to walk out of this building prepared not to return until January.
I love it. And I remember doing the same thing as a teacher. I would have all of my plans ready for that Monday morning, copies made. It took me a couple of extra minutes to get it done. But when it was done and completed, I knew I could walk in on that Monday morning, Happy New Year, ready to go. I didn't want to come in scrambling. I didn't want to come in looking for plans. So I love that you are intentional about doing that as a leader and saying, if it takes me an hour block of time to clear my list before the end of the year is finished, then that's what I'm going to do. So I love that you were intentional with your time. We have Gustavo joining us from Brazil. Good evening. It's awesome to have you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. And so I want to go into our second strategy. So our first strategy was certainly around making sure we're getting that out of office message up right away and communicating to our staff the importance of that boundary, that it is okay. And we are encouraging our staff members to do the same thing. So giving that permission to completely say we're not checking our emails. The next strategy is we want to put time on our calendars for the activities that we love to do. And you all know I love a good date night. And so I am someone, my husband and I have scheduled date nights for the past 15 years. And that's something that we continue to do. And so making sure that we are spending time actually putting time on the calendar. So that sounds counterintuitive. Why am I blocking time and putting things on it? Because we talk about intentionality. That's our word tonight. And so if I want to take a walk, I'm putting that on the calendar and I'm making sure that there's time for that. If I want to go to the movies, like I just saw Wicked 2, I love that. I kind of want to go a second time. I'm putting that on my calendar because I want to go one more time over the break. So making sure we are spending time putting things on the calendar that we want to do and prioritizing them. Jana, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I think we in the education field can get stuck in, those appointments, either annual appointments or just I have to go to the dentist 2 times a year in December and June. It's perfect, right? And so I think there's something to that of having that on your calendar as well. But I booked a facial, put it on my calendar. Those are just things that I can't get in during the year. And so it's doing those things. My husband and I, we do the same thing as you. We plan those date nights, and we're sure that they stay on the calendar. We secure that babysitter. But all of those things have to be on the calendar. And I don't know if I should admit this or not, but I love a good checklist, like during the year, and just, how you just mark something off the to-do list. So if mine isn't on the calendar, I have some sticky notes here that I will just write everything I want to get done, and I'll just mark it off as I go.
Love it.
Never be too organized over the break, I feel like.
Agreed. And again, I mean, it's also that time to think about what can we, if we're adding something, that means we're saying no to something, right? So if we're saying yes to something, we're saying no to that. And it's really important that we take the time to prioritize the things that we want to do, things that we love to do, trying new things, creating new things, because like you said, our time is really limited. And when we're at school, we are 100% blinders on getting things done, moving from place to place. And so when we have the absence of that constant being on all the time, then we can really think about how we can maximize our personal time to do things that we really want to do. So I want to shout out Guy. Thank you for being here tonight. And we loved having you. I see Constance giving us some love. She has a checklist. She's a checklist girly. I love that. And it does help us all to prioritize. So I love that you've lifted that up. And so I also want to talk about returning, right? Because we know that winter break is not forever. Most of us have about 2 weeks off. I know we're returning January 5th. Jenna, is that when you all are going back?
We do. The students start back on the 7th. So we have 2 days. We have a teacher work day that is strictly for them. We're going to kick things off with a little fun, a little staff meeting. I know that didn't sound like it was going to be fun, but we're going to do a little fun activity when we come back, just to see everyone. And then they are going to have the day just to work and to plan. And I think that is so important. And we were intentional with our calendar when we put it out as the calendar committee. And then we'll have a district professional development day, and then kids come back.
I absolutely love that plan. You have your time to reconnect with everyone and figure out, what everyone did over break and kind of ease in. And then the next day you're kind of right on with that PD. And then that third day back, your kids come. That's wonderful. I love that. One of the things I forgot to share was when we're back again tomorrow, and then on Tuesday, and then we start our break, we're having our cookie party, our holiday cookie party. So we'll do our ugly sweaters tomorrow morning. We'll see some great outfits. The kids will be into it. It's just a fun time. And it's a great way to kind of kick us off into winter break. So I love that we both have that time for staff to connect, because that's really important, especially now when we're all busy. And again, when we return, we know we're coming back to that hustle and bustle and like kind of jumping right in. And this is where our third strategy and our third tip is important, because we want to be intentional about how we come back. Many of us are leaving and we're feeling like a state of chaos, right? There's a lot happening. There's, we have different flu things going around. We have, teachers, like lots of needs happening. And so we all are excited for the break. But one of the things I want us to consider and think about is, how are we coming back? Are we going to come right back and jumping right back into this chaotic space? Or are we going to be intentional about how we're returning and what sort of mentality we're coming in with? So for our third tip, we want to think about how we can return with a sense of intentionality and not urgency, because many of us right now are operating in this urgent space all the time. And we don't necessarily want to jump right back into this urgent space after we've had this time to unplug and recharge. So one of the things we want to think about is, how can we reflect over the break, and what changes might we want to institute, or how can we ensure that we're coming back in sound body, sound mind? What are your thoughts on that, Jenna?
I think this goes back to when I walked out of the building on Thursday. making the list. I just wrote down 3 things that went well. What went well this semester? What am I proud of when this door closes behind me? What am I proud of? And that first thing that I wrote was staff. I'm so proud. And as you know, I really can't. I know we talk about turning it off, but I really have a hard time just fully turning it off. So in the past few days, I've been really thinking, when we come back to that staff meeting, the first thing when they've had all this wonderful time, how can we connect and be intentional about, the spring semester? We think we're in it now. I like to think about April, right? We're going to be to April soon. And so it's really, how can I love on our staff and make sure that they know, hey, we're in this together. We're in it. We're going to continue to grow students. We're going to continue to love on them and make it important for them. But that starts now. And it started our beginning of the year message. How can we go back and tie that vision and mission in? We revisit it a lot. We talk about it at our staff meetings, and so it's not something that we just talk about at the beginning of the year and then into the second semester. But we have to intentionally weave it in throughout the year. And so it's important to set that tone when we come back. And I think writing those things down, I encourage you, when you walk out of your building, write down those top 3 things that you were just really thankful for and proud of in that first semester.
I love that. And we have lots of comments coming in. Guy has talked about kind of reflecting on what works and what didn't work. And I love that, because that's something that we all can do. And it might be different depending on, what point we are in our leadership or where we are with our schools. But all of us have the opportunity to think about over winter break. What are we proud of? Like you said, like Jana said, what are you proud of? We're proud of our staff. We're proud of how hard everyone is working. And what's not working, right? Those are things that we can consider to try to make some changes on. I know, Constance, in the very beginning of the year, when we started around August time, we talked about her doing some journaling. And I know when I was a new AP, I wanted to journal, and I wrote down a lot of my goals, like what I was achieving throughout each day. That helped me to stay motivated. And Constance, I love that you're still doing that, because I think that really does help us to stay focused. It helps you to, again, stay motivated in your work and knowing that you are making a positive difference in your school. That's really important, because sometimes it doesn't always feel that way, if we're being honest with ourselves, because we're all busy. And you may not always get that thank you or that pat on the back. Great job. You did something well. Something didn't fall apart today. No, it's just things don't fall apart and things keep running. And that in of itself is amazing, frankly, because there's lots of dynamics. And so I appreciate this conversation about focusing, like Guy said, what can we improve on? I know for me, I'm thinking a lot about, there are great things that are happening in our schools every single day. But I also know that there are some students and families we still need to kick up that outreach for. So I know going into the January and that start of the school year, I'm looking to reconnect with our PPW, with our social workers, making sure that we're checking in on our families, saying, what do we need and how can we connect some resources from the community together so that our students are coming back in a great place, that our families have what they need. And it's really the same thing with our staff as well. We have to do those reconnections like Jana talked about. You're having that staff meeting together. Part of that conversation may be a true check-in. How are you doing, right? Because another thing that we talked about are, everyone doesn't have an amazing winter break. We have to remember that. Our students, our staff, and our community members are coming from different places. Holidays can be hard. It may not be a restful time for everyone. And so that check-in for our staff is critically important to say, absolutely, how are you feeling and what do you need? And then trying to meet that need. Jana, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's so important. We talked a lot leading into the Thanksgiving break of, hey, our kids are getting ready to go home for a week. And then we're going to come back for 2.5, and then they're going to be out for 2. Guys, we're going to see behaviors that don't typically spike because we don't know what everyone goes into. So it's a great point that you bring that up, because we talk about it a lot. And to Guy's point, talk about things that you can improve on. And Rachel, you talked about it as well, is it's talking about that as a staff, as a leader in the building. You have to be reflective, and you have to say, hey, I tried this. It didn't work. What do you guys think? And I think that is the biggest thing in our building is people know they can come to the office and me or the assistant principal, and they can say, hey, this really didn't work out. Are you open to try it this way? And we love ideas. We love the problem and the solution, and we'll try it. So we'll sit down during that staff meeting and talk about those things. What didn't work and how can we make it better? Because we could just sit down and talk about the things that didn't work. But the most important thing to talk about is how do we make it better? How can we continue to strive for that greatness?
Agreed. And it doesn't have to, sometimes when you're talking about what are improvements, we're not talking about like a 180 sort of thing, like this is totally not working. An improvement might be a small tweak. Like what is one piece of feedback that we can do to make from good to great? That's one thing I always think about is how can we move from that good to great space? We're all in good schools, but how do we become great? That really is that difference of feedback and then acting on it and making small improvements. So that's great.
And you're right. Yeah, small. Sometimes it's such a small, tiny thing that makes that world of difference. And we love to talk to students and get that student voice in as well. We'll meet with our student advisory board when we come back as well, and have those conversations with them. And that is one of my most favorite times with students, is to really sit down and dig into those things.
I love it. You know, I think about when I was a fifth grader, my biggest job was being a safety. I wanted to be a safety ever since I was a kindergartner. When I had that leadership skills, that was a big deal to me. And I love that you're empowering your fifth graders. We also do a lot of work with our fourth and fifth graders around a leadership group, and that's led with our counselor and one of our fifth grade teachers. And it's amazing when you ask students for feedback and you're able to make some changes based on what they are saying. And it's authentic, authentic feedback from kids, because kids will tell us the truth, won't they? They'll let us know what is working and what is not working. If you want to ever know, you'll ask your students. They will tell you. That's what I love about kids. So I love that you are empowering and letting your kids also have a voice, because they are a huge part of our school communities. And it's really important that we're lifting up their opinions and their feedback as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So can you believe it? I told you it was going to go fast. We have 3 minutes left, and I told you this is going to be a great conversation. And so we just are so appreciative of all the comments and all the engagement tonight. We want to review some of our tips so that you can remember before we close out. First, we talked about, for our first strategy, using that out of office message, like making sure our staff knows we will not be checking emails, and there is no expectation that you will be checking them either. And so that's really important, to set that boundary first and do it early and stick to that boundary. Our second tip happened to be around putting our fun and engaging activities on our calendars. What do we want to do? Being intentional about making sure we are putting time to make that happen. We can't just say, I want to do this, I want to happen. No, we have to be intentional about making sure we are putting it on our calendar and we are using that time accordingly and enjoying ourselves. And then our last one was about reflecting and thinking ahead. What are some things that are working well? What are some things that we can improve on? And how do we want to show up? Most importantly, how do we want to show up? Are we rushing back into school and going crazy? No, we're going to intentionally come back calm. We're going to look at that to-do list. We're going to spend a little bit of time cleaning things up. And we're going in with a sound mind, sound mindset, ready to work, and welcome everyone back, and just making sure we're doing those touch points with everyone just to see what the needs are in our school. And I want to close by thanking Teacher Goals, of course, for this amazing platform, and just thanking you for being here tonight. We really appreciate this conversation and all of the great things that you have been sharing in the comments. Bojan, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm so glad that you had an opportunity to be with us. We appreciate your engagement. I want to remind you to pick up your copy of Relational Intelligence, the Key Factor to Exceptional School Leadership. Brad Johnson and I worked really hard on this book to really think about ways that school leaders can be supported and that we can support our teachers and staff in a better way, so that what's most important, they stay in our schools, because we want to keep those excellent people there with us, teaching our amazing students and their lovely families. And so with that, I also want to thank my amazing guest. Jana, is so wonderful to see you. I love the energy. I love the spirit that you bring everywhere you go, just like a super bright light. I love it. Did you want to share anything before we close out?
No, thank you so much for having us. Definitely check out the book. It's wonderful. And thank you all so much for being here. Connect with us outside of this. Would love to connect with you all. I'm sure you have some great ideas as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we are looking forward to a wonderful winter break. Enjoy your time with your family, with your friends. Do what you want to do. This is your time to relax, recharge, and come back energized in 2026. Happy New Year and have a wonderful week ahead. Bye.